Happy Tuesday. I'm back. I've missed talking to you guys. Overdue for another video because my holiday is done and I'm back in Malbucks. So, as you may know, I went traveling for the past few weeks. I went to Japan. Stopped through Singapore on the way, and we did a little stint in Seoul, Korea as well. So that was nice. Cool to experience a different culture there as well while we were on that side of the planet. And now it's time for me to get back into this whole YouTube thing. So, of course, I guess I could have done a video when I was away, but I just wanted to focus on the trip, experience it one day at a time, and not get swallowed up in this whole YouTube thing. So please forgive me, I'm back now. And I wanted to touch on my little experience, my trip away. It was good. It was very good. And I would like to do it again. But not as a holiday, as a more day-to-day living experience. So those are some thoughts that I have in mind at the moment. But to touch on first, why exactly I wanted to go to Japan in the first place. So it was a goal, a dream that I've had for a very long time. When I was younger, I think this is the first reason. The first reason was because a lot of the video games I played and a lot of the platforms those video games were made on were all made in Japan. Second, some of the videos, not quite the videos, sorry. Oh, anime videos, you could say that. Some of the animations, the anime, the movies, like Studio Ghibli, for example, that I watched when I was quite young, they were also all made in Japan. Third, a lot of the food that I really fucking liked when I was young and now were all from Japan. And I started noticing and connecting the very simple dots that a lot of the things that I liked in my life originated from Japan. So that's one of the things. Those are some of the three examples that inspired me to fuck off over there and experience it in person. And on a second note, on a more unnecessarily, actually no, I won't say unnecessarily, because some of you watch me because of this stuff. On a more emotional note, when I was sometimes quite low in the past, emotionally I was a bit distraught. I didn't always have hope for the future, and I didn't want to stick around for stuff. But one of those things I promised I would stick around for was Japan. I came to the conclusion one day that I won't do anything harmful to myself because I haven't seen Japan yet. I'm not allowed to consider doing anything very extreme before I've even had the chance to experience the world around me and the chance to potentially make one of my dreams become a reality. And I'm very grateful to say that I did make that dream a reality. And in waiting for that and setting that little strange rule for myself, throughout that process, and now that I actually have been there in person, I made one of those dreams of mine come through. By being patient and persevering, I no longer really want to do anything harmful or extremely whatever, negative to myself anymore. So in a way, even though it sounds a bit out there, I think this goal of visiting Japan and now finally going to Japan in person, it might have saved my life. Maybe yes, maybe no. But it was definitely very important to me. When I didn't always have something right in front of me to look forward to or to be happy about, those are that trip, going over to Japan to see all the beautiful places, just immerse myself in the culture, eat the foods, see where those video games were made, stuff like that, that it kind of just kept me going. And maybe some people watching this, you can't quite relate to that, but maybe some of you watching can, because you can be in some pretty dark spaces in your life mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You can feel very sad, very down, very lost. But sometimes you just need one thing to keep you going. And that was one of those things for me. That took a bit of a dark turn, didn't it? Fuck, my bad. Anyway, I'm very grateful that I made this trip happen for myself. I persevered and it became a reality. I was determined. I put the money aside. I worked hard for it. And it happened. And like I said before, on that journey towards making this dream happen, I changed as a person in a more positive way. My outlook on life changed, not only leading up to the trip, but while on the trip, and then once I got back from the trip as well. So hopefully, if any of you have any other similar goals in mind, or similar dreams or places that you want to visit, you can make it happen. Get out there. You'll discover a lot more about yourself, I think, on that journey and while in that destination, instead of just kind of staying stagnant in whatever way that might be, whether it's being stagnant in a physical environmental sense, you're staying in the one spot for maybe too long, or an emotional or spiritual or mental sense. That's for you to think over. Anyway, my trip. Now that stuff's out of the way, we can actually talk about my holiday and not the amazing backstory. We started off in Melbourne, so of course still living in Melbourne at the moment. How much longer? Not too sure. We flew from Melbourne to Singapore. Transit. It was an unnecessary transit that I chose because I wanted to experience Singapore and the little airport they have there that I heard a lot of good things about. So we flew from Melbourne to Singapore, Qantas. It was via JAL, but it was on a Qantas flight. We were there for about 4 hours, which was enough. I think too much more would have been a bit tiring. But we were at the airport for about 4 hours. We looked around. We went to that awesome waterfall they have in that terminal there. That was a really cool experience. The Jewel? Hey, I think it's called the Jewel. That was really cool. That was completely worth the transit. Even though I added quite a few more hours onto our journey, onto not only that little layover, but then the flight times as well. It was completely worth it. It's very beautiful and cool to see in person. It's quite unique, having an indoor waterfall at an airport like that. I don't know who else does something like that, but it was an awesome experience. Took a lot of photos, some nice videos. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll probably post them over the next few days actually, because I've got to start offloading the content, memories from my trip. That was really cool. That shopping mall alongside the waterfall and garden area there. The shopping mall's huge. That was nice to check out too. After that, we flew from Singapore to Tokyo. But once we were in Tokyo, we went to my girlfriend's hometown for about 4 days. After that, we went to Osaka and Kyoto, again for about 4.5 days, 5 days, something like that. And following that, because of course you're on the other side of the world anyway, we thought you might as well go to South Korea. because you're just that close. So we went to Seoul for 4 days. The flight was an hour and a half from Osaka, if I recall correctly. So it's very close. It's very close. That was nice. However, I was quite sick, so I missed out on experiencing a lot of the things that I wanted to see while we were in Korea, which was a shame. But maybe next time we'll make up for it. Following Korea, we spent the final 8 days back in Tokyo. And that was one of the highlights, I think. Tokyo is huge. There's a lot of different neighborhoods, multiple CBD areas, but each of those areas kind of serves a different purpose, like shopping or business or whatever. It's huge, man. And it was very eye-opening. In this one large city, you can have so many different neighborhoods. Yeah, like I said before, the neighborhoods. Because of course when you're central, it's very urban, it's very grey. You don't see much green. It's just a whole lot of sky rises, apartments, shopping malls, alleyways, and restaurants, things like that. But one of those days we were in Tokyo, we went out to Studio Ghibli. They've got a little museum that's quite a ways out. I think if you leave on the train from the city, although it's still in Tokyo, it's like 40 minutes. So it was a bit of a ride out. And that's when you start heading more into the, do you call it suburbs? Neighborhoods? Where it actually feels like places families live. If that makes sense. Because I don't know why, it's hard to picture families living in the city. My picture of the city is a lot of businessmen, a lot of students, kind of typically younger people live in cities. At least that's where you see a lot of here in Melbourne. When I picture neighborhoods and like families, I'm thinking of no high rises, I'm just thinking of houses, and I'm thinking of normal streets, the occasional restaurant or cafe, and a park and a garden. That's roughly what I think about neighborhood areas, if that makes sense. We went to one of these areas that was over near Studio Ghibli Museum, and it was beautiful. I see myself potentially spending some time living in Japan. However, I'm not completely convinced that I would like to stay right in the city. It feels a bit, maybe not quite overwhelming, but you don't have much room to breathe and it can be quite noisy. And just the feeling of that suburb where you're still connected to Tokyo and the CBD along that train line. It's very simple. The transport over there is great. But it just feels more homely. And it feels like you've actually got fresh air. You've got the trees. You've got the park. You've got some greenery. Unlike the city. In the city, you've got a few large park areas in Tokyo, but not random little bushes here and there. It's pretty much just concrete, and then you've got this big park, and you've got this big park over there, and you've got this one, but apart from that, you're fucked, and it's just buildings. It was nice going to this little area where you got to experience more of a calmer, softer day-to-day life. You see people walking their dogs, out for a run, outdoor gyms. So I'm glad to say I was able to see a few different parts of Tokyo and not just the CBD. And it was the same one day where I think following the day we went to Studio Ghibli, something like that, we went to Poke Park. So there's a new Pokemon park that they have opened near an amusement park in area that's pretty much on the outskirts of Tokyo. So once again, it's quite far away on the train. And I think because it's right on the edge of Tokyo, they technically don't say it's in Tokyo. They say this other suburb, this name. I forgot what the name is. And then on that train ride as well, once you leave that busy city, you see more smaller rivers, you see smaller lakes, you see the same stuff. You see kids finishing school, you see people out riding their bike, normal shit, normal people stuff. And strangely enough, I think just experiencing those areas where you're kind of away from that hustle and bustle and noise of Tokyo, that was really nice. And it really opened my eyes up, because coming from, of course, New Zealand, now Australia, where you've got somewhat big cities, but even living here in Melbourne, in the city, it feels like there's not too much going on. Like one of the reasons that I live in the city is because I still need some noise. I like feeling like it's active around me. If I was to live in the suburbs in Melbourne, which I used to, it just feels dead. And probably that's just because I'm some random guy and I don't have a family and I didn't grow up here. I don't have local friends. I don't have that community side of it. I suppose that's one of the reasons I like living in the city, because it's easier to connect with other cultures, because you've got such a mix in the city. You've got people working, you've got international students, you've got people living in apartments sharing the same complex as you, facilities, you meet people there. It's very international, it feels like, in the city. But once you go to the suburbs, everyone knows each other, and I think if you don't know anyone already, it's going to be tough to kind of fit into a certain group or crowd. Unless you get into sports or activities like that where there's that social aspect. I think if I was living in the suburbs, I'll probably just be a fucking lone wolf and it wouldn't be too fun. But yeah, there are a lot of things that I really enjoyed and I liked about different parts of Japan. And hopefully, if you've never made it over to Japan or you've got any other countries in mind, you can get out there and experience it, because it'll be quite eye-opening for you. I thought when I went to Tokyo, I'm going to love the city. I'm going to want to live in the city straight away. But I didn't have that feeling. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I want to spend more time there. But if I move over there, I'm not too sure where I'd want to live. It might be someone quieter. Somewhere, not someone. Somewhere quieter. We'll see. There's no rush. There we are. The first video back. As per usual, I'm Eben went on a bit of a tangent and started yapping halfway through. But that's why you're here, isn't it? I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Have a nice night.